Science, favorite tool of modern mankind. But like all tools, science can be used as a tool for good or a tool for evil. How the tool is applied depends on the character of man. Victor Meshnik had invented a new form of computer memory. His colleague, Bob Ross, thought it was revolutionary. They didn't yet know that there was a flaw. Two detectives were assigned to the case. They arrived to find Bob's horribly mutilated corpse and a next of kin waiting to be interviewed. The detectives informed Carl Ross of his brother's death and Susan Meshnik of her father's disappearance. They asked Carl if he knew what the scientists had been working on and if it was dangerous. Carl denied any knowledge of their work. After the detectives left, Susan asked Carl what could have happened. Carl replied that he had some ideas and took Victor's notebook.
Police are investigating the deaths of two scientists.
That evening, a young couple in a car listened to the report of the incident on their radio. The young woman was shocked, but the young man replied that the scientists probably deserved their misfortune. It was a misfortune that they were soon to be personally acquainted with. The detectives arrived to find the horribly mutilated corpses of the young couple. They speculated on the possible connection to the Meshnik case and resolved to question Carl Ross more closely. Carl was already on Victor's trail. He was determined to discover the secret of Victor's transformation and therefore have access to any commercial possibilities the process would lead to. Unfortunately, his equipment was not up to the task. The detectives arrived to find the horribly mutilated corpse of Carl Ross. While his boss studied the body, the junior detective collected Carl's equipment and made another discovery nearby. The detectives informed Hank Ross of his brother Carl's death. Hank inquires as to the details. The detectives explained the circumstances and showed him what they had found. The senior detective explained that the recording was blank and produced a photograph taken at the scene.
It's the international scientific symbol for radioactive mutants.
Hank suggested that Victor's experiments must have mutated him into some sort of monster. The detectives asked if the monster could be stopped, and Hank replied that it would take some thought and access to Victor's laboratory. When the detectives mentioned that Susan would be able to provide access, Hank seemed surprised that she'd already returned from overseas.
Police continue to be baffled by a series of deaths centred around the research park where two scientists were killed in a mysterious accident earlier this week.
Hank Ross worked late into the night and eventually figured out where the atomic memory experiments had gone so horribly wrong. He realized that if he inverted the isotope ratio that Victor had been using, he might be able to reverse the transformation. To check his theories, he would need access to the lab straight away. He called Susan and arranged to meet her there in 10 minutes. The detectives arrived at the disrupted lawn party to find many horribly mutilated corpses. They were now convinced that the monster was hiding in the local scrublands and resolved to hunt it down and stop the reign of terror.
Right.
The senior detective ordered that they call for backup. The detectives arrived at the scrub first, determined to stop the monster. Hank and Susan arrived shortly afterwards. Hank told Susan to stay by the car while he tried to test his new formula and save Victor.
Susan, look away!
Hank, Susan, and the detective stood over the monster's cooling body. Hank speculated that although he had reversed the damaging effects of the experiments, it was too late for Dr. Meshnik. He explained to Susan that her father's death was necessary, that although his theories were extraordinary and his research was brilliant, the world was not ready for his atomic memory yet. But, Hank announced, one day, someday, it would be.
Science, favored tool of modern mankind. But as science marches on, we will face more dangers. But science itself presents the best defense against the dangers of science, for the future of science and humanity.